Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Code and the Coding Coders Who Code It. I'm your host, Drew Bragg, and with me today is Lucian Ghinda of the Short Ruby newsletter. Lucian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Lucian, and currently I'm a Ruby developer. I love Ruby. I'm working in Ruby since 2007, I think, or 2008. Um, and yeah, currently I'm talking about the Ruby community. I'm building this newsletter, Short Ruby, and of course I do some other stuff. I'm working for a company. I'm doing some other ideas. So yeah, this is me.
Great. Well, welcome to the show. And for everyone listening at home, if you are not subscribed to the Short Ruby newsletter yet, pause this episode, go subscribe, and then come back because it is an awesome newsletter and you will not regret it. So, for those of you who are new to the show, the way this is going to work, I'm going to ask three questions. I'm going to ask, what are you working on? What blockers do you have? And if you don't have any blockers, what did you recently get blocked on and how did you solve it? And then we're going to wrap up with some sharing of cool or interesting things, and it doesn't even have to be coding related. So even though our first question is, what are you working on? I'm really more interested in the newsletter and how that came to be. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yes, yes. So first, let me tell like the URL, the domain is shortruby.com, just in case you people are asking where. So how I come, I started with Twitter in a way. I have a Twitter account for I don't know many years, but I stopped using it a couple of years ago, and then maybe during pandemic I picked it up again, and uh, and I was not happy with what I was seeing. I don't know. I was doing different random stuff. So I started to unfollow a lot of people and follow more people from Ruby because I was thinking, let's use Twitter in a way to learn something or to find something new about things that I like. So I curated a lot of my my followings, let's say, or people who I was following. I also created some lists with people that I want to see more because I want to see in a chronological order, and then it was this worked very well for me. Then I started to have a desire, or I don't know, need. Like I was seeing some very interesting conversations, sometimes code samples, sometimes just a conversation about Ruby or in general technical. And I kind of scrolling, I read it, I agree, I reply or not, and then it passes away. And sometimes I wanted to come back to it or to save it. So in the beginning, I was starting to bookmark a lot of conversation, but then that bookmark is growing very big, and I could not read it. And I said, okay, I will try this on one side. On another side, I cannot always stay on Twitter, like because yeah, there are different time zones and different conversations, so it's very hard every day to catch up with it. And I was saying, okay, during the weekend, I will look at my bookmarks and try to see, okay, like a summary or for me. And then I said, maybe I will put it in a newsletter at least to have it on the web, and I can come back to it. And like I shared in one of the editions, I'm talking with some friends, some Ruby friends, close friends, and I told them, look, I will do a newsletter. I will put it there. It's fine if nobody will follow it, but it's nice for me to repeat or read something interesting and put it in a format there. And this friend said, and I said, yeah, if maybe some people will follow it, I will keep doing it publicly. If not, then I will keep it private in Obsidian or somewhere for me. And that friend told me, like, if I don't know, 10 or 20, how many people should it follow to do it? And this is how it started. I started putting it there. It was in the beginning very few people, but I felt, okay, I will put it here. Maybe someone wants to search for it or and so on. And now it grow a lot. I still do it for me. I really enjoy in the weekend to drink some coffee and catch up with everything that is happening during a week and learn something new. Because a main thing for me is that I'm finding new things or interesting things from this conversation, and it helps me as a developer, like really technical stuff, or I don't know, new features, or someone discovered something new. Of course, you can read like the guides or books, and you should do that also. But it's also nice that someone shares something.
Yeah, no, it is a well put together newsletter. I really enjoy it. I am on Twitter a fair amount. I enjoy the conversations and interactions, but I miss things from time to time, or I even forget that a thread happened. I'm like, I got to come back to that. And then I see it in the newsletter. I'm like, oh, great. just got to read the
Yeah.
summary or just got to read the key points, or if I want to go more into it, you've got the links all in there, and it's great. It's just quality on top of quality, and I really enjoyed the newsletter. So thank you for having it, because it has been one of my favorite additions to my newsletter barrage I get every week.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It was also in a way I also had I saw this last 2 years when I got back to Twitter, like a lot of people doing a lot of things for the Ruby community, and I was always thinking, okay, I want to help the community. I'm doing it in my own way. Like a while ago, and also now I'm sometimes helping people start with Ruby or with Rails, helping some companies or mostly NGOs or I don't know, helping people to, if someone says, I want to learn Ruby, I always say, okay, I can help with this. So I'm trying this, but I also always was thinking, okay, I want to do more. So how can I help more the community? And now, as I see more people um, liking the newsletter and subscribing, I feel like, okay, I'm finally also contributing back in a way to the community.
Yeah, that is one of the great things about our communities. I feel that it's a pretty big community, but almost everyone I speak to has the same feeling of I want to do something to give back, and we're very fortunate that there are so many ways that we can do that. Like it's not I have to write blog posts or technical articles or I have to be an author and write a book. Like you can write a newsletter, you can be on a podcast, you can be Andrew Mason and do both. In
Yeah.
addition to the open source contributions that we all do and or at least are working towards, and I think it's great, and I really appreciate your contributions, and I appreciate you coming on the show to help me give back to the community in my own way. I had a question for you. You brought up trying to help other engineers. Are you participating in First Ruby Friend as a mentor or as a mentee?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm participating as a mentor. I'm thinking to subscribe also as a mentee because maybe I will pair with someone and learn something. But I already had my first meeting with the mentee. We chatted. It was nice. It was someone that picked up Ruby. Then now he's working on something else, but he wants to come back. So we exchanged some ideas, and I also did a very quick, how to say, a quick show or showing Rails in 10 minutes or something like this. I usually try to do like, okay, let me just give you a quick tour of what it can be. Yeah. And I'm looking forward for more. Yeah, I think that's a great, actually that is a great initiative, that First Ruby Friend. I really like the idea that you can pair people from all over the world, and if you want to learn Ruby, you can pair with someone, or if you want to increase or just to how to say, chat or discuss with someone from the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It is a fantastic program. Andy has done a wonderful job kind of setting it up, pairing people
Yeah,
up.
it's a
I've had
genius program from Andy. Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah, and
totally
I'm
agree.
with you. I'm doing it as a mentor. I am really considering that the next round of signups, signing up as a mentee,
Yeah.
just because it would be nice to be on both ends of it. There's always something to learn, but really, I'm learning a lot working with my mentee. Like he's
Yeah,
asking me
yes.
really good questions that I know and I understand. I'm a fairly competent Rubyist, or at least I hope I am. Um, but he's asking me to explain something and I have to explain it simply, and in order to explain it simply you have to understand things really well. So
Yes, yes.
that's I'm learning a lot even just being the mentor. But yeah, I'm with you on the mentee part.
This is how I pitch people. Some other side of my interest or passion is to deliver trainings, most of them technical, or help people create learning experiences, not only live trainings. And for example, I don't know, beginning of the year or something, I work with a company that wanted to help some people transition from C to Ruby. And there I did it not with me in front of people, but helping they had some Ruby on Rails developers helping their own Ruby on Rails developers be mentors for the other people. And it's usually my main pitch is, if you will, I know that you are a senior Ruby developer or expert or whatever level, or you can also not be senior. You can be even junior or medium. It does not matter. But assuming the role of a mentor, you really grow no matter where you are. Being a mentor, it will really help you grow technically, but not only technically, also being able to explain and be like brief in how you explain things and so on. I really see it as a great learning experience, this being a mentor. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a fantastic opportunity to give back to someone and to you yourself learn. And I'm so glad that we have the organization of First Ruby
Yeah.
Friend, because I'm constantly like, man, I just want to pair with someone, like have fun, junior, senior, doesn't matter. Just like have an interaction with someone I don't normally interact with. Just chat about Ruby.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. Do not have the organizational skills to put something together unless it's like in the moment. Hey, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Of
Cool. You want to
course.
hop on a
Yeah.
call and like chat about some code? Sure. Like other than that, I'm not organized enough. So I
Right.
appreciate having the option to just have someone else say, "Hey, this is a person you're meeting with," and go. So you had to help set up a program where C developers transition to
Yeah.
Ruby. That had to be
Yes.
pretty interesting because that's not like, hey, I'm a Python developer coming over to Ruby or JavaScript to Ruby or any, like C is a pretty low level language. What was that like?
Actually, the main purpose of that program was we wanted to. So there was a company that wanted to hire some new Ruby developers, but were not many. So we are creating a kind of program, a learning program for people that are usually in automotive, so writing probably C or maybe Python or low level things, and we targeted. The idea was how do we attract this kind of like this type of developers, and we targeted mainly about coming to web, and in web you can do a lot of cool stuff. And about the learning experience, actually it was we did not, I mean, I did not hear, sorry, too many cons or questions like is Ruby doesn't, I don't know, Ruby does not have a static typing or things like this. Usually people were very receptive to what we wanted to do. It was an experience that was a mix between learning remote and also meeting during the weekend. So like asynchronous and synchronous learning. And it was a nice experience. Like out of people, that there are many people that subscribe, but we in the end of the program, 3 people actually got hired in Ruby.
Awesome.
So that was nice, a nice experience. And for me, it was also nice to work. I really like to work with people from this community, and I work with Ruby developers building together this program. It was not
Yeah.
my own. I mean, it was a program created together with the company. So they put more effort into it than than I added
Okay.
there. Yes.
Still very awesome, very awesome. So when you are putting together the newsletter, you said you kind of just bookmark things on
Yeah.
Twitter and then you spend your weekend with your bookmarks, just going through them, summarizing them, putting together. But I've mentioned this before, and I'll probably say it about 100 more times. The newsletter is really well put together. It's got great summaries. The code concepts are explained really well. The threads are broken down to like very digestible pieces. What kind of process do you have? Because it can't just be you just sit there with your bookmarks and you go, yeah, this sounds about right. Like there's got to be a process there.
Yeah, to describe it, I glued together some Bash scripts and Ruby scripts and Rails application locally. So the process is something like this. I have the bookmarks. Actually, I'm sending direct messages. Now the latest process, always every weekend trying to improve it. My latest process is that I send to myself or to Short Ruby, to the other handler, direct messages where I put some tags or the summary, because I think the best moment when you can summarize something is when you read it first time or the first times, like that, when you interact with it, when it's fresh. So I'm sending myself these messages. Then I have some scripts that are going there, some Ruby scripts, downloading all these messages, and then I with a rake task, I import them then in a Rails application that is locally, is nothing fancy. It's just, like when you you want to solve something, but you don't want to. I did not even run Rupacop on it or anything. So just writing Ruby code to solve this. And it's a Rails 7 application that actually uses Plex. And what I'm doing is that
Nice.
I import this in models, and then I show myself a kind of feed where I preview the text, the original tweet text, the image, and my summary, what I wrote myself there, which has some links and copy. I can copy things from there because I very much like to quote properly who said and when. Because actually, what is the value of the newsletter? Is you, like the people who are sharing stuff on Twitter. So I really want to give the credits as clear as possible, right? So
Right.
I create myself text automatically from this tweet source code on Twitter with the links, and then I just copy paste them from this web page that I have from this view there. Yeah, and all these things I glue them together with Plex, the views there, because I like to try new gems in general. Yeah, this is my process, and then I have to take the screenshot. The screenshot of the tweets, right? And for that, I'm using there is a software from Tony Dean, I think.
Yeah,
It's called
yeah.
Snapper, a macOS application. So I wrote some Apple script and some Bash together to automate, create screenshots. And so I take a screenshot and then I do that screenshot for Twitter and for Substack and for some other social networks if I want to share them there, all the cutting. And then I drag and drop this there. Yeah, so this is my current process.
That
And
is awesome. You are living the programmer dream. You got a little redundant task and you just automate
yeah,
it with a little bit of
yes.
scripting and you're off and running. That is awesome. That is a very cool process you have.
Yeah. So just following the format where I'm blocked is it's I'm actually taking the main screenshot. I take it manually. Like I open
Okay.
Twitter and I take the main screenshot. Because I'm trying to take the screenshot automatically, and I try various. Of course, in Ruby we have a lot of web drivers, right? You can display something, but somehow the quality of the images I was not always happy with them. So I'm
Okay.
still trying various web drivers, Chrome, Firefox, trying to enable Retina resolution on them, trying to screenshot, but there are multiple problems in this, like how big is a tweet. Some of them are the height of a tweet it's different and so on. So
Yeah.
this is not perfectly automated. I'm trying. And my latest idea with this, I think I tried a couple of weekends to automate this in various forms. Of course, there are paid services, so at some point, if maybe I will use a paid service to, but there are paid services to take
Sure.
screenshots of Twitter. But it's also fun to build it or to make it
Yeah.
myself. So I'm thinking my next step will be, because I can get the tweet, the name of the person, the Twitter handle, and so on. Maybe I can redo the view myself. So it does not
Sure.
have to be on Twitter website. I can redisplay the text and image and then snapshot that. And I think then over the next weekends, this is what I will try to do to see how it is. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So you've got not just the newsletter, like the work that goes into the newsletter, you're also working on building these automations or these processes or these
Yeah.
workflows to and coupling them together. That's awesome. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Like, as I was replying at one point on Twitter, like my relaxing time in weekend, it's coming to the computer and do this because it's very relaxing to write the code this way, just to run it, see it work, move on to the next thing. Like I said, I will not, I mean, it's not something that can be open source. It's just glued together some code with
Right.
the next code. But yeah, if something will totally work, and I was thinking at the beginning, if people will want to do, like, to save themselves and create their own page with tweets, maybe if, I want to share this if someone wants to do it. It's not,
Yeah.
it's interesting. But so far, I just want to automate as much as possible the actual creation of the content so that I remain more on the curating part, like choosing what to put there.
Right.
That's the main. Now what I'm doing in my own software, I delete what I don't want to put there. So I gather all the bookmarks or direct messages, I import them in my app, and then I press a button to delete what I don't want to include.
There you go. On the curation piece, there's a lot of content on Twitter. Twitter is actually a
Yeah,
pretty great place to get some conversations. There are wonderful people just dropping code snippets, talking about the projects they're working on. I've
yeah,
actually, since you mentioned Flex, like I've really enjoyed following Joel Draper's process of Flex, especially the
yeah.
compiler stuff that he's been
I
working on.
learned some few things from that process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Because there's so much, how do you decide what makes it into the newsletter?
So I have some let's say main ideas, but I also want to say that in the end it's like what I like. The thing is, for me, it's what I would like to read if as a developer, and I choose things that have code. These are the main things. So if there is a Ruby code and of course something interesting in it, I put that the first. Then, for example, there are many people sharing bit and pieces about, I don't know, some tweak of performance just as an idea, not specifically code, or sharing something I'm thinking about how to organize directories or folders or like anything that is directly related to the interest of a developer in Ruby. This is what I choose first, and I have a related section where I choose, I don't know, topics about IT in general. That could be about, I don't know, meetings or how we work or uh, Git or any other tool that is not Ruby, but I put it in a related section. This is mainly the process, but it's mostly trying to answer the question: if I will, like, what if I look at it? What do I want to read as a developer? Like, what will be interesting for me to see?
You and I must share a brain because the content in there is always like, yep, this is exactly what I needed. This is exactly the summary of Twitter I wanted. But you don't even just have the summary of Twitter, you have the summaries, and then you also have articles and videos, courses and books, just like you have a something to read section where you just list a bunch of other newsletters or articles,
Yeah.
and you've got podcasts and videos and gems and library. Like you've got so much stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the idea to add the others first. It's like a, how to say, Ruby Twitter archive for me. Like if I see
Mhm.
an interesting article, I want to save it, so I put it there. But also I think how if this newsletter grows, I also see it like can we help other people grow? So this is the purpose of the gem part. Of course, there are old libraries where I share an update, but I also try as much as possible. I don't stay on Ruby gems new, but try as much as possible to put there something new, because I think this could be a way to promote new things or an article or something to other people. So to help, I don't know, to help ourselves as a community grow. Of course, I don't have that big audience to achieve that, but I found it nice that can I include something that you go to someone else website and maybe you like what you read there, and then maybe you bookmark it yourself or something like this. So that's the thing about that. Not only to be the Twitter part, but also include some other stuff. Actually, in the last period, I found some LinkedIn groups about Ruby interesting. There are interesting conversations there.
Okay.
I did not yet included something, but I'm starting to think, okay, maybe some conversations, maybe just as a summary could be included. And I sometimes also on Reddit there are some
Yeah.
interesting things. I discovered a map of books that I found it very
Yeah.
interesting, Ruby books. So I'm also there watching, but not that. I somehow
Right.
for me the most interesting things are still on Twitter. I see
Right.
a lot of old community member, or very involved, sharing things there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of sources out there, like you said, Reddit. There are some
Yeah.
LinkedIn groups that are decent.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places you can consume, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think Twitter's still where most of the conversation is happening.
Yeah.
So you kind of already taken the next question of what kind of blockers do you have? So we'll just gloss over that since you beat me to the punch.
Actually,
Oh, you have
there
another
is a
one.
second. Yes, yes. Like I'm using Substack now, and I like
Okay.
it. I like it in the sense that it's very easy to make this a newsletter, but also an article. I really like that
Okay.
mix. It remains on the web, so you don't have to subscribe. Maybe there are people who don't like to receive a newsletter, so they can read it there.
Hmm.
But the main thing is that I will have very much liked that the editor is Markdown, because I could have generated more from the newsletter, you know? So
Okay.
now I'm kind of thinking, how can I automate the copy? I need, so to put it for example, to put a link or something there in Substack, I need to have a web page rendered. So I copy the link with the name of the link and
Uh,
put it there.
okay.
But if the editor would have been Markdown, I could have generated the Markdown already and then just delete from Substack what I don't want to see, you know? So now
Right.
I need to put pieces by pieces. So this is a secondary. I'm thinking now to automate visually, like maybe AppleScript or something to copy and paste it there so that I say, okay, take this tweet and put it there because I want it in the newsletter. So that
Right.
I remain more in the curation part because I think the value is more, of course, I want it to look nice. And this is an important part for me. I want to like what I see there, like
Sure.
I want to like to read the newsletter, but I will also like to have more time for curating. So I will try to automate. Yeah, that's the part.
Well, there is so much content to curate from, so yeah, you need all the
Yeah.
time you can get curating. That's interesting though. I run into the same thing when I'm doing the podcast show notes. I write them in Obsidian
Yeah.
when I'm just kind of where everything gets dumped into while I'm putting anything together. But when I actually upload it to Buzzsprout, who I host my podcast with, they have an awesome service, but their editor is not Markdown, so I have to go in and put everything in and then copy the text and dump the link in after pressing the make this a link button. So I'm
Yes,
with you.
exactly.
We need more Markdown editors in the world.
Yeah, yeah. I think that will be great. I was thinking at one point to write and like their support or somewhere and ask, is it possible at one point that you make this a markdown or not for everybody, but just to switch there, switch to
Yeah, yeah.
markdown or something.
Enter
Yeah,
dev
but
mode.
yeah, but probably Substack is not. I mean, I don't know them, but I don't think they see the dev blog newsletter as big because
Yeah,
the syntax highlighting. This is why I am putting more screenshot. The syntax highlighting is not very good at highlighting programming languages. Yeah.
sure, sure. Yeah, since I don't have a newsletter, I don't even know what other options there are out there. How did you land on the one that you're on now?
So I'm kind of following some other Substack. So it's by reading. I followed some other. I'm following some other newsletters, and I like the simplicity of the interface and the idea that I can put my own domain, and the idea that the email remains as a like a blog post. There are many others that offer this, but this is offering it to be on the main page. So you don't have to go to archive or something else. It's like a website, but each blog post is sent by email. This is
Right,
the thing.
right.
Probably there are others that are doing this, but I don't know. It was among the first that I tried, and I remain here. Yeah,
Okay. Well, it's working for now. I think
yeah,
the newsletter looks great. I mean, I know our organization is you, but it looks great. It's well organized. I enjoy getting it. And then I really do your point too. It's nice that you can consume it both ways. You can come to your inbox or you can kind of go to the
yeah,
site and read it like an article
yeah.
because my inbox gets full fast. So
I
it's
agree. Yes,
definitely working for now. I had another question. I forgot it. I will cut this part out.
no problem.
Awkward pauses. Oh my God.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't have the top. If you cut this, let me say something else.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the top English speech, so I hope I
Oh,
did
you're
not
fine.
do
No, you're doing
too
great.
much, how to say, mistakes, English mistakes.
No, I had Sebastian Vilgosh from Hanami Mastery
Yeah,
on a couple of episodes ago, and he was my first like not native English
non,
speaker,
yeah,
and
okay.
I was super worried because I know personally like I'm not great with accents, and I'm like I don't want that to take away from the episode, but both of you have done superb. Like if I tried
Okay.
to learn your native language, I would butcher it beyond belief. And you guys do English, so you do English borderline better than I do. Um, and
No,
so
I
what?
don't think that, but I think like in IT, I think like for me when I'm talking with, I'm also talking with people that want to switch their domains and come to IT, so not programmers. And I usually ask them, you really need to know English. That's among
Yeah,
the first things because a lot of resources are in English, and if you don't, maybe Japanese for Ruby will also work,
yeah,
but in
yeah.
general, English is it's base. Before start reading any resource about
Hmm.
programming, just you have to learn English. That's first point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is your native language?
Romanian.
Okay,
I'm from Romania,
that
so
makes
it's
sense. Of
Romanian.
course, you're from Romania. It would be
No,
Romanian.
I mean
I'm
maybe
so
I could
sorry.
have been from some other place. No, it's I'm from Romania. Yeah.
What is the like if you could compare it to like I took German in high school, I took Japanese in college.
So,
I don't think it's anything like
yeah,
Japanese. Is it sort of
no,
German
no.
based
It's
or
not German. It's Latin based. It's like
okay.
French, Spanish, Portuguese,
Okay.
this type of language. It's
Very
a
cool.
they call it a Latin language. The base
Okay.
is Latin. So, for example, or Italian, I can understand most of the parts from Italian or Portuguese or even Spanish, but of course it's not that easy to speak back. But some most of not most. I don't have to say most because I never did a count, but some words have a common root. The
Right.
termination is different, but the root is the same. So yeah, this
Yeah.
type of language. I don't know. When you learn it natively, it's hard to think about grammar, how hard it is. But what I can say is that we have genders in grammar. So
Hmm.
each word, each noun has a specific gender. We have three genders: masculine, feminine, and neutral. So for me, this type of languages that have genders is hard to learn because you have to remember, okay, this word, what gender do
Yeah.
I have to put? Like, yeah,
Yeah. German is like that, so I know exactly what you're
yeah,
talking
yes,
about. I remember that being a little bit of a weird topic. Like we have to remember what gender each word is. I'm like,
yes,
the
yes,
heck are you talking about? Genders for words. What are you talking about?
yes, yes. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm speaking Romanian natively, so I don't think about this, but I'm thinking that someone else will find it weird. Like, okay, a book has a gender. What? It's a
yeah,
book. I mean, yeah.
right. So
I hope you
being
don't
in
put that there because I'm not a grammar or English or Romanian teacher. So
no, I said I was going to cut that part out, but now I think I have
yeah,
to
no
leave it in
problem.
because that was a good chat. But being in Romania,
Yeah.
like, do you get out to any conferences in your general, like, local regional conferences for Ruby or Yoroku, or do you come to the States at all?
At state, I was not at conferences, but I was visiting
Okay.
sometimes, but I did not match any conference. And I was participating before the pandemic to some conferences, but in the last 3 years, or how many years are in this pandemic? I
Yeah,
don't
it's just
know.
about
Two
three.
or three
Yeah.
years, I did not participate. And this year, yet I did not participate to a live, like in person Ruby conference.
Hmm.
I'm watching almost all the videos, or if there is something remote live, I'm trying to participate, but not in person. But speaking about this, we just started with, let me tell you something like what I'm working on or what I'm trying to do related to this. So
Yeah.
the idea is that we started, we don't know exactly how many Romanian Ruby developers are. So with a group of friends, we started like a poll to see how many are in Romania, and with the secret but now open agenda for a couple of weeks that we want to do a kind of, I don't know, mini Ruby conference or something,
Sure. That's
probably
awesome.
in the spring here. A bit. I was saying, if we gather 10 or 15 people, it will be amazing to be in one single space and see other Ruby developers that are from Romania. But let's see. We are thinking maybe next year in the first months of the next year. But let's see. Yeah, this is a secret,
Yeah.
but now open
Now open
uh,
on the
open
podcast. Well, thank
agenda.
you. Yeah, please tell me it's going to be
Yeah,
called Romanian Ruby.
yeah, actually we set up a domain for this. It's called Ruby Romania, I
Okay,
think.
good enough. It's just the RR. Like I love.
RubyRomania.ro. Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I love
exactly.
like my favorite podcast is Remote Ruby, and then
Yes, yes.
Andrew Mason also does with Colin Gilbert the
Uh,
Ruby Radar newsletter, and it's just like the
yes, yes,
RR, and then there's a I don't actually listen to it. I'm sorry, but there's the Ruby Rogues podcast, and I just like that
yes,
RR. And when you're
yeah,
like,
yes, yes.
yeah, we're finding Rubyists in Romania, I'm like, yeah, another RR, go. That's great.
Yes, yes. So I'm not saying that now I announced it that we want to do this conference. I think we shared it in some other places, but the website is still talking about the survey. But yeah, that's the plan. I just want
Yeah.
to gather people and meet each other, and maybe we hear some talks. It's
Yeah. That sounds awesome. And that's, I mean, that's how they all start, right?
something
They
like this.
start
Yeah.
as just a a couple of
Yeah.
people meeting up, and then it grows and it gets slightly more organized, and then all of a sudden people are signing up for talks. And I'm super excited for regional conferences. The small conferences are so fun. I have a blast at RailsConf. If you've never been, like, and you ever get the opportunity to come over to the States, RailsConf is great, but it's so many people. I think this last one was
It's
like
huge. Yeah.
1,200 or something. It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's awesome as it is to just be like, wow, look at all the Ruby and Rails developers that are around, and like there's so
Yeah.
many good sponsors. There's something to do all the time. That's great. But also, like, I've just done Sin City Ruby that Jason Sweat put on in
Yeah.
Vegas, and we
I
just
saw it.
did Andrew Culver did Rails SAS, which was a very different type of Rails conference, but still it was small. And the small ones, you just have, I feel like you end up having these more intimate conversations, just like you get
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
know the other attendees so much better. I think there's something so special about that. So I'm really looking forward to there being more of that
Yeah,
regional, small.
I saw about after each of these conferences or during a lot of
Yeah.
enthusiasm on
Yeah.
Twitter from you, everybody participating there. And yeah, probably there is a special feeling. I also feel it the same when I go to a smaller, not smaller conference, how to say, like you're saying, regional or something that is specific, and you can get in touch with somehow I'm thinking that I'm getting in touch or more with more people in the smaller ones than
Yeah.
in the bigger ones in a way. It's hard
Yeah.
in a bigger one to usually if I go to a big conference, I'm sticking with the friends that I got there or that I already know. We
Yeah.
form a group and we stay like that, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Especially by like day 3 of RailsConf, I'm pretty cooked as far as my social battery is drained.
Yeah.
I am running low on energy. I've probably been up pretty late and up early most night and days. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like I have like the first day to meet people, and then the second day I'm just kind of like, oh well, where are you guys going? Where are you guys going? I'll
Yeah,
just jump on
exactly.
board. And then by the third day, I'm just like, I just want to be with people I know, and I don't have to worry too much about them thinking I'm weird because they know how weird I am already, and it's for good.
Yeah.
But like at RailsSASS or Sin City Ruby or any of those, like it's just that's the group.
Yeah,
So I think you do get to end up seeing more people because you just don't burn out as fast.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we're coming up rapidly to our last and final question, the fun one. Share something cool or interesting, and I know you have a ton of them, so take all the time you need to prepare yourself. Something cool or interesting that you've recently learned, stumbled upon, built yourself, or anything doesn't even have to be coding related.
So I'm not sure exactly what to put here, but I want to share an idea that I want to build, and it's somehow related still with the Ruby community. So I really hope to build this year. I'm thinking to build a website or a place where I want to invite people from Ruby community, like to give you an example, asking you to share your coding environment and
Okay.
to share it exactly. Okay, I'm using Vim or VS Code or whatever with these plugins, and I have these bash scripts and so on. And I want it to be like, okay, this person that is a Ruby developer is using this, and this. So if someone new or if someone that is already in Ruby but want to change the environment can look at different configurations used by real people. And I say, okay, I want this. I know that there are a lot of already resources, articles about how to set up each one of them, but I'm looking about a real coder. This is the real setup. It's
Right.
not a shiny setup or I don't know, use this new cool feature. This is my current setup.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I like that
So
a lot. Similarly, there's a How I VS Code, I think is the name
yes.
of the extension and site. We actually just used that pretty heavily at work because we had a bunch of people on Atom still. And when Atom got deprecated, they were like, well, I'm going to go to VS Code. And when that switch
Yeah,
was
yeah.
happening, a few of the people who were still on Sublime decided, you know what, I'll do VS Code too. And I had a lot of people coming and saying, hey, what extensions do you recommend? What are your settings? And settings I wasn't able to do it with, but for extensions at least, I was able to just send them my link to how I code, and I could see a lot of value with that idea of like, hey, what's your terminal setup?
Yeah.
I paired with Andrew Mason one night. We got on to work on a website. I think we were just going to do some Bridgetown stuff, and he got like morbidly scared by how terrible my something in my terminal was, and we spent the entire night just like rebuilding how my editor or not my editor, my
My
terminal
terminal.
was
Yeah.
configured, and like I showed him stuff that he was like, oh, I didn't even know about that. That's actually really cool. I'm going to add that. And he showed me a ton of things that I was like, what? This is amazing. I love this. I'm going to work this into my workflow. So it would be
Yeah.
awesome to have like a central place to be like, hey, this is how I have my terminal set up. This is, I use Vim,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
here's my config or my VS Code. I like that idea, and you need to make that happen in what I
that's my next
assume is
plan.
your infinite free time, right?
No, it's actually very limited. But I'm trying to make the most out of it. And yeah, like I said, I want to contribute, and I think I mean, for me also this satisfies a need that I saw in people starting to code in Ruby, looking
Yeah.
for the configuration. And of course, there are already some packs. Andrew has one. Adrian, another friend of mine, has one on Visual Studio Marketplace that you can put. But you still need to do some steps, and for some people these steps are to make it work. I don't know, install Solar Graph or do add something somewhere and so on. And
Yeah.
I would really like to have a very good that I plan to try them all, but let's see if I can do it. All the things that are there, to try them on a new setup, like create a new account, or I don't know, in Docker or somewhere, and just try them to see how they work. And it will be really great if I could add there also some setups from Windows, or
Yeah.
because there are some people who are now on Windows and they want to come in Ruby. And in my experience, installing everything there there are not that many resources. There are, but
Right.
I had a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
some
So
unpleasant
that's my
stories
plan.
about trying to get a Ruby or a Rails environment set up on Windows. So if any listeners out there have a good like, yeah, this is how you get rolling on Windows easily,
Yeah.
please share, because the community will love you. 'Cause there are still people
Yeah.
stuck on Windows. So
Put it in an article so that it can
yeah,
be indexed, so that people can
put it on Twitter so it can be
search about it.
included
Yeah.
in the Short
So
Ruby
I will include it for
newsletter.
sure. Yes.
Well, this was awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show. It was great to get to chat with you and pick your brain a little bit about what is quickly becoming one of my favorite newsletters. Don't tell Andrew. I still love the Ruby Radar, but this one
Yeah,
is
it's
just
great
special.
newsletter. Yes.
No, they're all great, and they all have slightly different formats, and I think that's what's awesome. Kind of going full circle is like, it's awesome that in our community, not only are there so many ways that you can give back, but even in spaces that there are things, we have room for more. I was worried when I decided to start a podcast that I'd be competing with such amazing podcasts like Remote Ruby and the Ruby on Rails podcast and Code with Jason and like the Bike Shit. Like there's so many good ones out there. And it turns out like there's room for more. I get a fair amount of listeners. Ruby for All is the new one from Julie and Andrew, and that's gotten some traction and really popular. And it's a great one because they all are just
a great one. Yes,
different enough. And it's the same with newsletter. I love the Ruby Radar. I love your newsletter. The Ruby Weekly is like a staple in everyone's inbox, and it's great to see more content being produced and new approaches to how it's organized. So
yeah, thank you very much for the nice words. And I want to add to this that I also I follow all of them. I hope I read all the Ruby newsletters. I'm trying to subscribe to all of them and to include them in my own. The same with podcast. I really enjoyed this diversity. I think having this diversity, it's amazing, because then each person can match with one or many. It's one to many or many to many sources of information and hearing and participating. And also, I thank you very much, because it was my first podcast. I felt I started with some emotions. Now I think I'm good. So thank you very much.
I think
for
you did a
being
great
great
job.
Host for this.
Oh well, thank you. I have no idea what I'm doing, but thank you very much. You did
You're doing great.
and you were a very You were a great guest because you had tons of awesome things to talk about. So I didn't have to do a lot of talking, which is always the goal. So before we
Thank
sign off, aside from shortruby.com, where can folks find you and the newsletter on the interwebs?
So on Twitter, I'm with my first name, last name, Lucian Ghinda. That's my Twitter handler, and I also have a website that it's like allaboutcoding.ginda.com. This is where you can find me on Twitter and Short Ruby. It's where I'm mostly there. Yeah.
Awesome. I will put all of that in the show notes, links to subscribe, which if you did not listen to my previous instructions, go sign up. You should do that now as we sign off. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm very much looking forward to next week's newsletter.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here.
Thanks, man.